Who's Maestro? Who is this company? What are these pedals you've been seeing? Well, Maestro is actually the founder of effects pedals. And you may not believe me on this, but it's true. The first effect pedal, first fuzz pedal, was the Maestro FZ-M, and it was used on the Rolling Stones' Can't Get No Satisfaction. You'll hear more about that in a little bit. But they're bringing back the Maestro line. And they're starting with this original line here of, it's 5 pedals. You have a fuzz, you have an overdrive, you have a distortion, you have a chorus, and you have a delay. Kind of everything you would need to get started. And what this line does is it really gives you the versatility of the modern player with the sound of these classic pedals. From the fuzz tone FZ-M to the Ranger Overdrive to the Invader Distortion, Comet Chorus, Discover, Delay. These pedals and their really solid, cool looking boxes sound great. And so we're going to take a little time to talk about them today and go into the history of this line, the technology that they use to build these, and what makes these pedals so great. If you have any disagreements about that, you can leave one in the comments and we may or may not respond to it. I don't know. Let's see. But anyway, let's talk about some pedals. The first pedal we're going to look at is the FZ-M from Maestro. Now the FZ-M is modeled after the very first fuzz pedal ever created, which also happened to be created by Maestro, called the FZ-M. And the FZ-M can be most notably heard on the intro riff to I Can't Get No Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones. And from there, I mean, you get that classic tone in here. And it's really cool because you can switch between that and the modern, there's a sort of modern voicing. So with the, the classic voicing, you sort of get that. But then when you switch to the modern, you get a little, it's a little bit more filtered. And it gives you just a little more versatility in a fuzz pedal, which I tend to like. I like it when I can kind of switch back and forth on my fuzzes. And if you listen to the original recordings that have this, and you kind of get your hands on this, they did a really great job bringing back this sound. You get 3 knobs on here. All the pedals in the Maestro line are 3 knobs, plain and simple, probably as bare as you can get: attack, tone, and level. And the more you kind of mess with so right now I have the level at all the way up, dimed. But the more you mess with the tone, you can go from, get a more raspy sort of. So that's with it all the way up, and then with it all the way down, get a really nice, just a nice warm, round sort of fuzz sound to it. And then the attack, again, just opens it up even more, gives you a little more sustain that way. Just a nice, again, a sort of different take on the fuzz. So you get that classic sound, but then you also can put your new spin on it with the modern setting on here. The next pedal we're going to talk about is the Ranger Overdrive. I'm a big overdrive fan. That tends to be right in the sweet spot of what I like. So this pedal really speaks to me. Maestro did a really great job of capturing some of the best sounds of all those vintage tube amps, of a nice driven, tubes are cooking, eggs are cooking, overdrive tone that you get out of a nice vintage tube amp. And there's 2 settings on here. It starts out, you can get it in a nice low sort of, just barely breaking up. And the more you drive the level on that, just kind of keep tweaking it up there, and really can push it. Still keeps it pretty low, pretty manageable. And then I'm gonna bring it back down to noon on the level here. When you pop up to the high, you can really start to drive it. And the whole time it stays sort of transparent, which I like. You can really manage the gain stage really well with it. It stacks really well with the fuzz. That's with both of them stacked right on top of each other. The Ranger in the high setting. And again, I'm going to keep returning to this, is with these pedals is the versatility you get with just the flick of a switch and 3 knobs. It's a really great deal. and the price point you're getting them at, it's also a really great starter pedal for anybody just looking to get introduced to some of these lines. You know, some of the overdrives and the fuzzes. You don't know where to start. This is a really good place to start. The next pedal in line here is the Invader Distortion. Now this is a pretty straightforward distortion pedal, which again I like. You got the 3 knobs, gain, tone, and level, with a switch for a noise gate. So with it just on the, I have it right now on the neck pickup here. Just it does a really good job of just giving you that warm sort of round, pushing it to the edge distortion. And then the more you bring the tone up, you get the gain up, it gets a little more chaotic, a little weirder. What's really cool about it is when you flip the gate on, it stops right on a dime. And you can really just drive this thing up into oblivion. That sustain is just keeps going, doesn't stop. We can do the whole rest of the video like this. Won't stop. We won't do that. The next pedal we are going to talk about is the Comet Chorus pedal from Maestro. Now the 3 knobs on this are the depth, the mix, and the speed, with a toggle switch for the orbit mode and the earth mode. Now the difference between the 2 modes, the orbit mode gives you a bit more of like a rotary speaker sound. It moves a little bit more, as opposed to the earth mode, which has more of your classic chorus sound, more of like a shimmery sort of sound to it. The depth controls the pitch variation. The mix is obviously how much of it you want in there, and the speed is just the speed of the modulation. So we got a really nice setting going here. This is on the earth mode, so it's going to be a little more grounded, no pun intended, earth, ground, whatever. But it's got a really nice chorusy, doesn't get too out of control. But if you bring the speed up, bring that depth up a little bit, you let those notes ring out, it sounds really nice. And it actually stacks really well with the overdrive, I found. So bring it back to the original settings. And in the orbit mode, you'll hear, goes from, this is at the right in the middle setting. But if we really dial it up here, bring the speed up, bring the depth up, bring the mix up a little bit, and we'll add a little bit of juice on the overdrive. I love that. I love that you get a chorus and you get almost like a tremolo rotary sound out of it. It really just gives you a ton to work with. And I mean, if you're just stacking all that we've talked about so far in a row, you got yourself a pretty killer pedal board and a great look, and they all fit really well together. The last pedal we're going to talk about is the Discoverer delay. Now this is a really simple analog delay pedal that uses the bucket brigade sort of method of delay. You got your 3 knobs. The delay knob lets you just, get weird like that. It's got the delay, it's got the mix, and it's got the sustain. Now I noticed that you really don't hear the delay punch through unless you have the mix pretty high up. So right now we have it at about 2 o'clock on the, if you're looking at the pedal clock, 2 o'clock. And the sustain's at just before noon. That's just enough where we can let you hear it without it completely bleeding out, which we love that when it washes out and everything, but for the sake of the demo, we're going to keep it right at around noon for the sustain. And also built into this, like I said, every one of them has a toggle switch of some kind. This one has a modulation switch, so you can either go from having a really nice, clean, like I'm actually going to throw the overdrive on so you can hear it a little more. So that's with the modulation off. With it on, you get a really cool tape like. You can hear that. It gets really weird and modulated and tapey, which, I mean, if you're a fan of like Mac DeMarco or any of those newer wave indie bands like that that use that type of analog board technology for that, it's going to be your best friend on this pedal board. And like I said, it pairs really well with the overdrive. It also pairs really well with the distortion if you're into that. Not with the modulation on, though. If you're into that sound, if you want to get weird and atmospheric and loud, turn on the Invader Distortion with the Discoverer delay. If you want to get a little more spacey and weird, you can do the overdrive, the Comet Chorus, and the Discoverer delay. Stare at the stars for like 16 hours, get weird. And if you want to, you can stop staring at the stars, look at the ground, get that nice fuzzy. Basically what I'm getting to is these pedals were created with a legacy in mind, with a sound in mind. From the Rolling Stones fuzz tones to just all the analog devices that are used in studios to create some of the biggest hits. You can hear them in these pedals. And again, they're simple. There's 3 knobs, 1 switch, in and out, and one clicker. You don't really need much else to get the most out of these pedals. And I think that you'll really find that Maestro, it's been a labor of love for the people over there to just really bring back this line and try to bring it back to make it relatable to the modern player, as well as to the people who grew up with the songs that were recorded with them. If this is something you think you might be into, you can head over to altomusic.com and check out our Maestro page over there. It'll give you all the information that you need to know about these, all the specs and sound demos you might want, and you can pick one up today.